Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me here. It's always a pleasure being in Bulgaria and Sofia, and even more since you won the ESC. So I'm right in the winning country. I'm Holger Klaasen. I'm designated Senior Vice President for the Aurubis Group, being responsible for energy procurement and for CO2, ETS trading systems and all that stuff. And that's why I would like to tell you a little bit about the challenges we are facing being a mainly European producer in Europe. As you might know, Aurubis is one of the biggest copper producers in the world. We are the biggest copper recycler in the world, with our facilities spread mainly over Europe. But as you can see on the top, the two main sites, our primary smelters we are very proud of, are based in Hamburg, where our headquarters are, and in Pirdop here in Bulgaria. So since I'm from the headquarters, I can't say that this is the most important site, but it is. So it's really important for us, our plant in Pirdop. We have a integrated smelter network, so our sites in Europe collaborate. We're shifting materials and doing recycling and producing more than 20 different metals. As you can see here, we are receiving 2.2 million tons of mining concentrates we're using, and here in Pirdop we produce about 220,000 tons of copper cathode, which equals 1% of the global yearly production in copper cathode. So you can see that our Pirdop facility is really one of the most important copper production plants in the world. What you can see here is what we are very proud of, because Aurubis is already a very sustainable company, and we took a lot of effort and a lot of investments to reduce our carbon footprint. And as you can see here on the left-hand side, you see the global average of the carbon footprint of per ton copper produced. And on the right-hand side, you can see the Aurubis footprint. So our copper production only has 40% of the global average, not of the worst copper producers, but of the global average in the world. So you can see we are already very low carbon in our production. As I said, Aurubis Bulgaria is for us as a Aurubis Group one of the most important sites, but also for Bulgaria. I think we are a very important partner. We are an industrial hub, being responsible for 9% of all Bulgarian exports, and one of the biggest employers here in the region of Pirdop. And it's not only about industrial production, it's also about highly skilled job, about innovation and decarbonization, what we do here in Pirdop. As you can see here, we have a very strong commitment to Bulgaria. We took a lot of investments in the past to increase our production capacity here. And we're also planning more investments in the future to continue our path to net zero and to increase production capacity. As you can see, I mentioned the 220,000 tons. We're planning to increase this up to 340,000, which would mean 50% on top. Here's an overview of our Pirdop site. I don't know, some of you might have been there before. It's a very large site, and you can see around it is surrounded by our own PV plant, which in the final step, probably next year, we will have built it up to 40 megawatt peak production. So it's a very big solar power plant. I think the biggest private-owned solar power plant in Bulgaria, what we operate. I will not go into the details of the different investment projects, because I was about to talk about the challenges we have as a global as a company in global competition, and especially as an energy-intensive company. As you may imagine, copper production is very energy-intensive, so energy prices, CO2 prices, highly affect our EBIT. And additional to that, we have a strong international competition, especially with China, but also US, South America. And as you can imagine, they don't have CO2 prices. They don't have, or at least not that high like we do in Europe, and they have far lower electricity prices. And copper is a product that is the same everywhere. So it's not highly innovative, it's copper. And the price for copper is set at the London Metal Exchange. So it's an exchange traded commodity, and our customers are looking at the copper price, and that's what they pay us. So we can pass on any additional artificial costs we are having from the European ETS system, from higher electricity prices here. So this is very important to understand, that even if we would like to go on the path to net zero and to decarbonize even more, every additional cost we are having here stays in our EBIT, and we can pass it through. I hope this will change someday, but right now our customers unfortunately are not willing to pay more. And this is what we need to bear in mind when we are talking about the European framework, the legislation, and the electricity prices, for example. As you can see here, I don't know if I have a laser pointer. Yes, I do. The blue amount is the electricity we need. And as you can see here, Bulgaria is our second largest electricity consumer. And as you can see here, it is also one of the most expensive we have. And in this line, you can see what we receive in Germany in this example as an indirect cost compensation. Because in the electricity price, and we heard this in the panel before, we have the margin order. So the last power plant sets the price for everything. And that's why we have a very high amount of CO2 costs in the electricity price. And everywhere in Europe, not in Bulgaria, unfortunately, so far, receive an indirect cost compensation for this, because our Chinese competitors, our US competitors, they don't need to pay these CO2 costs, which we pay when we are buying electricity. And that's why Europe allowed the member states to implement this cost compensation mechanism to give a refund for the companies that are facing this international competition I just mentioned. And I'm very happy that the new government announced this new industrial electricity price based on the European CSAF that will really help, but it is limited for only 3 years by the European Union. And that's why I would emphasize, and I'm happy to collaborate with a new government to think long-term. We need a long-term perspective. We're taking investment decisions for 10 to 15 years, and if we can calculate with an electricity price for only 3 years, it's not possible to do the right decision. That's why my suggestion would be, when the CSAF phases out, ask for for indirect cost compensation in Bulgaria as well, so that you can keep up with the energy prices we have in the other countries. And that counts even more because, as you can see here, the CO2 factor in your electricity grid is quite high. So the CO2 costs we have in the European ETS system is causing a lot of costs on this electricity price. Having said this, I want to close with something positive. We are very proud of our production facilities here in Bulgaria. It is an investment hub, and together we can maintain competitiveness and industrial production here in Bulgaria. So far, we had a very reliable partnership with local governments, with all the Bulgarian organizations, and with the federal government. And as I said, we would like to do future investments here, but therefore we need the right framework, and we need reliable, predictable energy price. And I was very happy to hear the panel before. And since I'm from Germany, I can only recommend, don't do the same mistake we did. Don't shut down your reliable production before you have the alternative. And that is what we did. So go on that path. Thanks very much for your attention. And hopefully we can find a way to stay competitive and maintain our very low carbon production here in Bulgaria, because copper is needed for electrification, needed for digitalization, and needed for decarbonization. And industrial competitiveness can do all of that together. Thank you very much for your attention.